Hello, everyone. Before this episode started, I just wanted to quickly say that this episode is actually a little snippet from the Two for the Win podcast I recently started with my good friend Jacob. We're actually on episode 3 right now, so this is a little snippet from that episode discussing the Lions and Buccaneers upcoming game. So if you guys are interested, check that out in the description down below. The link for the Spotify will be there. Then we have a very intriguing game, one that I am picking against Vegas and against what most people are. We're going Bucks at Lions. I picked the Bucks.
Yeah, give me the Lions. This is my Super Bowl winner prediction, and I just think the Lions are better at everything than the Bucks are.
I do think that the Lions are more talented, don't get me wrong. I just think, I don't know, I'm thinking that early on in the year is a prime time for them to get surprised a little bit, and you're going into this Bucks game where I don't think the Lions played all that well against the Rams, to be perfectly honest. I talked about that in the review last week. The Bucks were super impressive. Granted, it's the Commanders, but Baker Mayfield had a PFF grade of 82. He was phenomenal. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, we talked about them. McMillan, I think there's a lot to be said of, if the other two are covered, how can you do, as the third look in some instances, maybe fourth if you count Cade Otton. But I'm going to be really...
White.
Or Rashad White. I'm going to be really intrigued about what they do. And like I said, the Lions defenders they played well against the Rams, but they let up a lot of yards, especially underneath passing. I want to see if they can get that corrected moving forward. And speaking of the Lions, and I just want to quickly point something out here real quick. Jared Goff, in medium throws this past week, which is anywhere from 10 to 19 yards, 2 of 5 for 54 yards and a pick. Second worst PFF grade of any quarterback through the first week, and then plus the Thursday night game, other than Bo Nix, the rookie. So I think it's just, I don't think that means a whole lot in one game, but it's just an interesting kind of, statistical anomaly, especially since I stated that I don't think Goff played all that well. He also had a PFF grade of 32.4 when he was in a clean pocket, which is exceptionally weird. You would think a quarterback, when he has time to throw, usually is going to be the best that he's going to be. Now, when he's blitzed, that's a different thing because, you're kind of leaving coverage spots open because obviously someone has to blitz. But even when he wasn't blitzed, still wasn't that great in the pocket. I want to see him clean that up, and I think the Bucks could go out there and surprise them. Obviously, could go either way. I could obviously see the Lions winning this game. I'm just going to be fun and pick the Bucks.
That's fair. I've done the same thing a couple times, so hopefully I have an opportunity to make up a point in our tally here. I think Jared Goff did play an especially sloppy game in week 1. That being said, almost everyone played a pretty sloppy game in week 1, so I'm not too worried about Goff.
Except for Baker Mayfield.
Except for Baker Mayfield, except for Derek Carr and Sam Darnold, the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I'm going to be really interested to see how this Lions offense evolves over the year. Obviously, I gave Jameson Williams an award last week. He's currently banged up, shocker. So it'll be interesting to see if he does play in this game, but also just how this offense continues to incorporate him as Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta really get going. So obviously, this Lions offensive line is one of, if not the best in the NFL. So I'm not worried about them holding up against the Bucs defensive line. It's just going to be how Jared Goff, progresses, because he did not play very well in week 1. I'll give you that. But how Jared Goff works on getting back to the player that we've seen him be over the last 2-ish years. Couple years on the Rams, obviously Jared Goff has had some very good stints and very good stretches of his career. So it's, when do we see the good Jared Goff get back into the fold here? Because if you're getting the good Jared Goff, and you do have the Sun God and Laporta and Jameson Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs and this running game and the pass protection that this offensive line provides, I think this is one of, if not the most potent offenses in the NFL. So that is obviously the main reason I'm picking the Lions in this game. But also, like, I think this defense is just better than it's been the past few years. You talked about the corners of this defense and how they're going to hold up against the Bucks. I think Terrion Arnold is really promising. I think he'll probably be mostly matched up against Chris Godwin in this game. Obviously, I believe Chris Godwin was the highest rated PFF receiver in the NFL last week.
Basically.
So how the rookie holds up against a test like Chris Godwin, and then how Carlton Davis holds up against Mike Evans. Obviously, they're not. That's a matchup that's not new to them. Obviously, they practiced against each other for the last half decade plus. So how these corners hold up against these Bucks receivers, who are one of the more potent wide receiver duos in the NFL. That's a matchup I'm really interested in watching this week. And then how long before we see Jared Goff really find his groove, the groove that he was in for almost all of last year, is another matchup I'm looking at.
Definitely. One quick thing I want to throw in. I did kind of forget about the Carlton Davis, Mike Evans matchup, so that's kind of funny. Also, of note, Tim Patrick has been elevated to the Lions active roster. I don't think he'll get that many snaps right away, but I do think that he is going to eventually become the wideout 3 in this offense. I'm very excited for that. Man has obviously had a lot of injury problems throughout his career, but if he can stay on the field, I think he's a pretty damn good receiver.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to find very many bigger Tim Patrick fans than me, and if they can incorporate him into the X receiver role in this offense and let Amon-Ra do what he does from the slot, and let Jameson Williams kind of play that flanker role and that wide receiver 2 run the routes that a wide receiver 2 traditionally runs. Obviously, I think Jameson Williams is a better player than Tim Patrick, but if you have a player of the caliber of Tim Patrick doing those things that you typically see, running those routes that you typically see a wide receiver 1 run, I think it's just another wrinkle that gives this offense a really good chance to score a lot of points against anybody.